Welcome to Stories de la Frontera. I'm Laura Castaneda. Crossing the border into the United States sin papeles is risky business. It's a trip often made at night in the trunk of a car or crossing a polluted river. For Central American immigrants, especially children, the danger begins long before they ever reach Mexico's northern border. Now the compelling story of one young boy has been documented in pictures. Jody Hammond brings us some of the powerful images captured through the camera lens of a brave and passionate photojournalist.
This is the photograph that greeted readers of the Los Angeles Times on a Sunday morning in 2002. It's the stunning image of a young boy atop a train in southern Mexico. Vintage Don Bartletti.
The interesting part is this train there's no horizon, there's no definite destination, and that really is the story of children trying to get from southern Mexico to northern Mexico on these trains.
That story would take photojournalist Don Bartletti along the same route as the young boys heading north in search of their parents, the fathers and mothers who had left them behind to try and make a better life in the United States. Along with Times reporter Sonia Nazario, Don traced the route of Enrique, a Honduran boy desperate to find his mother, who had emigrated to the U.S.
They saw this great divide between the United States and where they came from, and I don't think they had any idea how long it would take or how difficult it would be.
Immigration is a subject that has fascinated Don for more than 20 years. His photographs have documented the desperation and hope of those who feel compelled to leave their homeland. It's a quest that turned him into a train jumper.
As a photographer, I need to have nothing in between my camera and my subject. And there's a lot of motivation for me to keep up. It was physically stressful, especially leaping off a moving train, trying to run around immigration checkpoints with these youngsters who were like rabbits.
Don's stunning photos belie next to impossible shooting conditions, like tree branches that could have easily knocked him from the top of a train.
So the challenge for me to photograph it was to set my camera in advance and then be ready and just lay down on the train and click the camera. And it was a little difficult to lay down because the trains were hot as a griddle under the tropic sun.
Don says he never tries to blend in, only to gain the trust of his subjects. There are special images that still bring a smile.
It's one of the most favorite pictures of my whole career. And not only for its visual beauty, but for what it meant to those suffering boys on the train.
It's that suffering that put Don in an unenviable position.
One of the most difficult things for me as a photographer was not to help people in need, but the ethics of photojournalism were so strict, and I adhered to them because I didn't want the story to have any suspicion about it.
Another dilemma is whether to intrude on the all-consuming despair in a photograph where the subject resembles Christ on the cross.
And I said, this is an unbelievably private moment. But I had to, Don, push the shutter! And my finger felt like it was atrophied. I didn't want to shoot it, but I did. Oh, God. Thank God I did.
Don's journey would take him to the waters of the Rio Grande.
What you don't see in the photograph is the horrible smell. What you don't hear is the gurgling water and the rustle of their plastic bags that carry their clothing.
For Enrique, the crossing would lead to the long-awaited reunion with his mother, now living in North Carolina. Don has been on numerous international assignments since shooting Enrique's journey, including Afghanistan and Iraq. And it was while covering the war in Iraq that Don got a phone call from his boss.
He says, Don, I want to be the first to tell you that you've been awarded the Pulitzer Prize. And I go, what? And I sat up like one of those little jack-in-the-box babies, and I go, that's fantastic. Could you say that again?
The award, which includes $75,000, is the print journalist's equivalent of an Oscar.
I never thought it would come my way. I'm happy. But I do look over my shoulder. I do try to figure out what are people expecting from me. But what I expect of myself is a continual coverage and documentation of the saga of immigration, and I'll react to it as I see it.
After shooting this story, Don was invited to speak at an international conference on migration back in Honduras. Sonia, who also received a Pulitzer, has taken a leave from the Los Angeles Times to write a book. And Enrique's journey is being made into a mini TV series for HBO. Much closer to home, there's another disturbing new threat facing children, this time on the Mexican side of the border. Alarmingly, more and more children are being pulled into illegal and risky business, oftentimes with the blessing of their parents. The children are just trying to help their needy families survive. In this exclusive story, Carmen Escobosa shows us a way of life that is stripping Tijuana's children of their innocence.
Tijuana has one of the fastest growing economies, and it is one of the border cities most frequented by foreign tourists. It has always kept its arms wide open to those coming from inner cities and beyond in search of a better life. Nevertheless, Tijuana has also one of the highest crime rates in the country and has now become one of the scenarios for a, you could say, new phenomenon in Mexico, known as narcomenudeo or narco retailing, hidden behind narco tienditas or narco shops.
Centros de distribución y venta de algún tipo de narcótico, hablando de marihuana, cristal, heroína, que son las drogas de mayor consumo aquí en la frontera.
In these centers of distribution, customers are not greeted by drug lords, as you might think, nor are there huge sales.
Son pequeños envoltorios que se venden al menudeo, que se venden, te digo, en estos sitios, que los venden ya prácticamente como si vendieran chicles, golosinas.
You can get enough pot for a rolled cigarette for $1, methamphetamine capsules for $5.
Tristemente nos hemos encontrado con que en el sitio la mayor parte o incluso familias completas están prácticamente involucradas en la venta de droga al menudeo.
And the transactions, you will not believe this, are witnessed in some cases and handled in many others by the youngest at home, 5, 6, 7-year-olds. Juan, as we will call him, is a father of 3 young children. He spends his days selling and distributing drugs at retail from his home, while everything is being witnessed by his own children.
Quiero 50 pesos. Y ellos miran que agarro dinero. Ellos miran que agarro dinero y pues al contrario me ayudan. ¿Sabes qué? Aquí está esto, guarda eso. O si me miran a mí, voy, o cuando miran a la policía van y me dicen y así. Nada más sí miran y ven y eso, nada más así.
O nomás le avisa.
Sí, nada más.
Oye, ¿saben? ¿Tus compañeritos en la escuela saben? Nadie, no. ¿Verdad? ¿Y tú qué piensas de esto? No piensas. Qué bueno. ¿Y en qué año vas?
El primero.
Ay, qué grandote. ¿Y cómo te va?
Ven.
¿Sí? ¿Y cuando crezcas qué quieres ser, mi amor? ¿Qué te gustaría ser?
Policía.
Pues qué bien. A police officer? The sprouting question is, what would he then do to his own dad if he was a cop? One trusts that his children won't follow his example and that they are aware he only sells drugs because it is better paying than a maquiladora job, for instance.
A veces gano hasta 500 pesos al día. Y en una fábrica no gano 500 pesos al día. De esos 500 pesos invierto 300 pesos. ¿Cuánto me gané? 200 pesos. Por a veces que se vende más.
But something one should consider is the fact that he adopted his tradition of selling drugs from his older sister, and his older sister adopted it from her mom, a practice that has now become a pattern, as you will see, according to files kept by PGR, which stands for Procuraduría General de la República, Mexico's version of DEA, Drug Enforcement Agency.
Familias enteras operan estos negocios. Este es uno de tantos casos en el que la madre e hija son sorprendidas en su domicilio y que son identificadas por los vecinos, personas que se dedican a vender o a abastecer a adictos de pequeñas dosis de droga.
And while authorities try to put an end to this form of child corruption, the living reality in some streets of Tijuana, like this one's known as Zona Norte, seem to make it impossible.
Aquí al fondo está el callejón del infierno. Miren nomás. Ahí. Este es otro lugar donde se reúne la gente para inyectarse o consumir cualquier tipo de droga.
Nada. Anda cosiendo. Siempre cose y cose y cose. Ah, que está limpiando. ¿Cuántos años tienes, hija? 5. ¿No te parece de 6? Estás bien enana. Yo también soy policía, no me pueden llevar.
In a scenario like this one, authorities admit it is very difficult to keep children away from selling and distributing drugs or committing any other crime. After all, this is what they are exposed to practically since their first breath of air.
Nearly 300 federal agents were brought in from Mexico City to shut down all the narcotienditas they could find in Tijuana. Well, she spent 2 years researching the annual celebration commemorating the deaths of more than 2,000 immigrants who lost their lives trying to enter this country illegally. Many of those victims died without ever being identified. What you're about to see is part of an award-winning 18-minute documentary produced by Laura Irene Arvizu.
Que andan por aquí en estos tiempos. Yo creo que estoy en representación de muchísimas cruces que no han sido identificadas. Todos nosotros somos los que ponemos el trabajo duro en ese país. Nosotros somos los que echamos para adelante ese país. La verdad, ellos tienen concepto de que se va a hacer cosas malas allá y tal. Y yo sé y positivamente que si no estuviéramos nosotros allá, muchísimas cosas fueran diferentes.
The arduous road that undocumented people confront on their journey to enter the United States illegally is not always successful. Those who survive the journey say it is not uncommon to find a body or human bones while crossing. Many of those whose remains are undiscovered or unidentified along the border are remembered by human rights activists through protests or artistic expressions, like the Crosses Project.
When we started this project, the press would always say, well, Michael, what do you think will happen? And I said, I don't know, we just need to ask the president how many dead Mexicans are worth changing a law. And back then it was 290, something like that. And who would have believed 500? Who would have believed 1,000? Who would have believed 1,700? At Christmas time, who's going to believe 2,000?
Es más bien un reconocimiento that they didn't die in vain. I like to look at them as heroes, pioneers, who paved the way for other people and their families. I think we are honoring them by remembering them in any way that we can.
To say that Operation Gatekeepers at fault for the deaths that have been presented along the border, that's to make an accusation, or an unfounded accusation.
With me now is Laura Irene Arvizu. Laura, what's happened since you shot the documentary?
Well, it causes several reactions, positive and negatives, but this is good because bring the problem again to the table.
And what's next for you?
Well, also thanks to the documentary, the doors opens and now we can shoot a short film. It's a fiction one and it's about a very traditional legend from Baja California.
All right, good luck with your next project.
Thank you.
Well, for many of us, that first taste of morning cafe kickstarts our day. But for hundreds of local commuters, time is an issue, and many just can't spare the minutes to brew their own coffee at home. Instead, these commuters are taking a different approach. As the sun rises, the Java Brews. But this is no ordinary coffee shop. No, this one caters to a different kind of crowd, and it takes a special kind of worker to handle the morning rush. Here, workers like 20-year-old Jorge Alberto make car calls, taking coffee orders.
¿Leche de azúcar? Leche de azúcar, por favor. Sí. Ok. Lante, dame un crema irlandesa grande con leche de azúcar.
Then somehow track down the customer again among the rows and rows of cars heading to the U.S., in line at the world's busiest port of entry.
Sí, unos 10. ¿Dos pasteles? Con chocolate, limón, manzana.
¿De manzana?
¿De manzana algo más?
No, nada más.
Ok. Y dame un pastel de manzana,
How do you find the cars?
Lo ubico por decir en qué línea va, qué número de línea va y qué carro lleva enfrente y qué carro lleva atrás.
Every once in a while, Jorge Alberto has to think on his feet in English. Small, medium, large?
Small, medium, large.
$1, $2?
$1, $2, $2.20, $2.16, $3, $3.15.
So you know the important words. ¿Entiendes las palabras importantes?
Ah, sí, claro, lo básico.
Back inside the store, workers there hustle too to keep up with the non-stop flow of orders. And if it looks like another coffee chain you've seen on the other side of the border,
Starbucks?
It looks like a Starbucks.
Yeah, it does. I thought this was Starbucks. We were walking past, I'm like, 3 other places didn't have coffee. I'm like, let's get some coffee.
owner Gonzalo Anel Contreras insists the concept of de volada is completely different. The S word.
That's right.
But it's not.
It's not.
De volada is Spanish for on the go. This particular store along the pedestrian walkway has only been open for about 6 months.
And, cappuccino, latte, frappuccinos. I mean, the price is...
It's about the same everywhere.
Yeah.
Busy as it is, this store is not the first to open in Tijuana. This one is. It opened about 2 years ago in Playas, a wealthy neighborhood about 10 miles south from the border crossing. Different location, different owner, but the same menu and the same de volada concept. Owner Jose Padilla knows many of the customers by name, and that, he says, makes a difference.
That's basically the Mexican way, you know, public relations, personal touch, and that's what we've been doing.
Okay, gracias.
Our original idea was basically coffee on the go, but we see the needs of people which wants to spend a little bit of time enjoying their coffee, sitting down, relaxing, and that is the reason we're trying to grow and expand.
With de volada's expansion comes popularity. Right now, there are some 14 franchises scattered throughout the city, but even that still leaves room for outside competition. We've heard that maybe possibility of having the S people coming over here to Mexico.
That is correct.
Is that a good thing for you or bad thing?
Well, that will be good, so that way they know that we have the same things they do have up there in a better scale. You know, better quality, service, and personal attention to them.
Well, since we covered this story, owner Jose Padilla switched the name of his franchise. He now operates 5 coffee shops in Tijuana called El Caliente. 3 more are opening in the coming year. Both Padilla and the other franchise owner in our story, by the way, live in San Diego and commute across the border every day. And yes, both admit they were Starbucks coffee drinkers before. Well, it looks like an old Western movie, a trip back into time. Once a year, hundreds of cowboys gather in Rosarito for a day-long horseback ride known as a cabalgata. Every once in a while, a newcomer joins the adventure and anything can happen. We asked one of the riders, Roberto Pozos, to share his home video.
I'll guarantee you guys, you'll come back next year.
Last time I rode, my saddle fell off the horse. That was my last experience, so I've experienced falling down.
Some of you guys are the first, some of you are the second, but it's all the same. It's all good.
I'm Juvenal. This is my 3rd cabalgata. Here to have a good time. I hope everybody has a good time too.
My name is Beto. I'm from San Diego. I'm coming here to have a good time.
We're here at the cabalgata. We're here at the night. It's about sunset, so we're about to get ready.
caballo Silver. Este es mi caballo, Brownie. He did it for 2 years in a row. We're gonna go down this hill right here. Estamos oyendo aquí del dueño de los locales del Tremors.
12 capítulos de la serie Tremors, en la cual trabajaron pues bastantes actores, varios actores, y aparte ocuparon gente de la localidad que tuvieran güeros, ¿verdad? Principalmente.
Sí. They're here, it's only like 10:30 or so. And my horse is like, wants to kick ass.
Está renando el caballo, ahorita el compa está tomando video al compa, ahorita nomás llegando.
Wow. Y apenas vamos a parte de la mitad y este es un campamento donde todo el mundo viene y descansa. Pásame. Pásame. Gracias. Enjoying the ride, taking the scene. Now, this is probably one of the best spots in the whole ride because we have about 100 foot down on the other side, and we're just, enjoying the ride. It's sort of camaraderie. People are singing behind me. People are playing harmonica, and this is just like a wonderful friendship ride. Now we're riding the horse. It's probably the best way you can get to meet somebody. Probably the worst part of the whole trip. It's very steep down, and as you can see, everybody's going real slow. This is probably the extreme part of the ride.
Sunday afternoon in this beautiful place, El Cañón de Rosarito.
Okay, well, here we are, La Cabalgata. We just did it. It took us about 8 hours, and we're here. We're gonna have a good time, and thank God we're here, and we'll save one piece. But hope you guys enjoyed the ride. We sure did. Camaraderie.
The Cabalgata is held every year in October. It's not open to the public, though. It's by invitation only. Well, he's considered one of the top-rated morning DJs in San Diego, popular especially with Spanish-speaking women. Last year, he made the jump from a small radio station in Tijuana to one of San Diego's bigger FM stations. His audience has since doubled. Sandra Torres pays a visit to Viva 102.9, formerly known as K-Love, to get a glimpse of the voice behind the mic on one of the most unpredictable shows to hit the airwaves.
¿Y tú qué eres? ¿Mexicano, italiano, chino, japonés, francano? Eso.
It's 5 a.m. and Mario Alberto is wide awake.
Acabamos de escuchar a La Factoría.
So are his listeners, tuning in from both sides of the border. Transmitting from downtown San Diego at the K-Love Studios.
Terminaron hasta dándome la retaguardia.
Sí, ya estaban ahí. This guy's energy.
Tony, Tony.
His interaction with the audience entertaining as he dishes out consejos or advice.
Con mucho cariño les atendemos su llamada.
On topics ranging from troubled marriages.
Y como pues digo, hay que exigir, hay que pedir y hay que estar firme en lo que uno define.
To scandalous affairs.
People tend to remember when I talk about a sexual topic, but actually it's not that I talk a lot about sex. When you talk about something that brings up controversy, they probably remember it more than other topics that we have.
And controversy is something he has in common with another well-known morning radio host.
Everybody says, do you like the Mexican hour turn? I don't think it's fair to him, actually, because he's really big and I'm not.
But Mario Alberto is big, and believe it or not, this has become his signature line. And he has the ratings to prove it.
We were watching and following this young man that was doing radio in Tijuana at another radio station, and he caught our ear for the type of radio show that he was doing. And we figured that it's time to break the mold of regular radio and bring something different to it.
K-Love made the offer. Mario Alberto accepted on one condition.
I told him, I just want to let you know that I open my mouth a lot. I can say some stuff that you normally wouldn't hear about of your DJs. I told him I'm not going to change anything about the show.
You want me over here, if you want me to come over here, I can't change nothing.
He accepted the offer, and his loyal fans followed.
This is the magic of the show, that people have liked the show so much that they will participate in any topic. They will tell us things that they probably won't tell their doctor, psychologist, or their best friend, but they will tell this on the air for us.
He's careful about how far he goes on the air. He knows his biggest fan is listening, his wife, Bianca.
She likes the show, and she always tells me this. I mean, I don't care if you talk about your intimacy or if all the audience talks about their intimacy, just respect my intimacy.
Muy buenas noches tengan todos ustedes. Bienvenidos a Baja Club.
And speaking of intimacy, this year, the popular DJ started hosting Solo para Mujeres, a ladies-only event on Thursday nights at the Baja Club in Chula Vista.
Everybody has heard about it. Everybody wants to be in there. Anybody's in there. No, but we have a lot of fun. We do this little show where people can, participate in some contest that we make them laugh, and we surprise them with a lot of stuff. Mañanas, muy buenos días a toda la gente que nos acompaña. Enorme, damas y caballeros. Bueno, ya lo saben.
From the stage to the studio, Mario Alberto is a natural behind the microphone. His talent is paying off in more ways than one.
When you see your face in a bus, on a billboard or anything, you know it's because you've been doing something right and working real hard. I set up everything, but the people really make the show. I don't make the show. They really make the show.
Bye-bye.
Mario Alberto is no stranger to San Diego. He's a graduate from St. Augustine High School. His morning show, by the way, is now in syndication. Listeners in San Francisco, Oakland, and San Jose are tuning in. Gracias for watching Stories de la Frontera. I'm Laura Castaneda. Until next time, hasta la próxima.
Aquella noche en el Sevilla no esperaba encontrar a nadie, solo quise ir a bailar, no sabes qué sé yo quería, pero cuando vi tu rostro nos encontrábamos besando, quisiera que fuera realidad ese momento. Pero como cuando nos despertamos de un sueño tan hermoso.